Hey there everyone, and welcome to my first random facts video for a series that isn't Smash. For those of you who don't know, this is a series where I go over, well, a series of facts related to a certain game, be it useful tips, useless little details, or just answering questions you all have. I'm not sure if I'll make multiple episodes of this series for this game, it depends on what you guys want. And right before we go in, I want to give a little disclaimer. I know there's been a bit of controversy regarding whether or not someone time skips in the game, and while I won't give my feelings on that now, to respect everyone, the facts and footage of this video will not show any major developments of the game past about a week of real time, so let's get started. And I mean that literally. I recorded my first several hours of the game just in case I wanted to cover anything that came up. And the small thing to note is that when you begin, your default appearance seems to be random. When I first played, I reset a ton in order to get starting villagers that I liked, which I'll get a bit more into later on. So right now we can see what kinds of appearances I was met with. The first appearance was someone with short blonde hair and teal eyes, with a yellow striped shirt. The second appearance was a tanner person with the same hair, smaller green eyes, and an orange kind of checkered shirt. The third was a bit different, but with the same shirt as the first one. Same case with the fourth. My fifth attempt was entirely different, with frankly a really sick fit on him. And on my final attempt, I did forget to record the first section, but I had someone with a black striped shirt on. All of the other differences I named, being skin tone, eyes, hair, all that, are easily changeable. But the clothes you randomly start off with are not customizable immediately. And it seems to be completely random too, as the information I filled out before the appearance customization part was consistent the entire time. But the big important part in regards to resetting this introduction section is the villagers you start off with. And a fact stated by Ultra Seaboy is that the two villagers you start off with will always be the same personality types. Hockey or Jock, and Aniki, or Sisterly or Big Sister, although it seems to be also called Uchi quite a bit. Every villager falls into a set personality type. So what this means is that there's a certain list of villagers that you could start off the game with. The list is a bit long, so I'll link you to the IGN page which goes over it. So if you haven't started the game yet and you're like me in that you're picky about who you live with, this list could help you pinpoint what you're looking for. But how likely is it that you'll get the perfect combination? On my 6th try, I managed to get Donkey Kong, and I was more than content to sit with that. But how many possible combinations are there total? Well, you will always start with one male villager, the Jock, and one female villager, the Uchi. The number of Uchi villagers in New Horizons, sourced from IGN, is 24, meaning you can have one of 24 potential female villagers starting out with you. And the number of Jock villagers is 54. The reason why this number is so much higher is most likely because the Uchi personality type wasn't introduced until New Leaf, the previous installment to the series. So if there's 54 male villagers to fill in slot 1, and 24 female villagers to fill in slot 2, then the total number of possible villager combinations at the beginning of Animal Crossing New Horizons is 1,296. So there's a 1 in 1,296 chance for each and every villager combination to appear whenever you start an island. For reference, you're almost as likely to get a shiny Pokemon on the first try with a shiny charm in modern Pokemon games. So if you're looking for a specific combination of starting villagers, I say don't hold your breath. Going through the intro sequence took me about 3 minutes each time, so on odds, it would take you about 65 hours total of resetting the game to get what you want. I say just have a group of desirable villagers, and when you get one of them, just deal with it. That's what I did for Donkey Kong here. And of course, you'll have plenty of opportunities to recruit new villagers to your island. I actually did manage to snag a new villager called Audie. And as I was reminded by Solaire of Astora, there's a potentially nice story behind this villager. Now this is pretty popular in the Animal Crossing community, so I'll be brief in my description, but there was an old woman who had over 4,000 hours in Animal Crossing New Leaf, and the video about her was pretty big on YouTube, very wholesome 100. What's wholesome 200 is that this new villager, Audie, shares the name of the grandmother's in-game character. Since Audie was added to the series in New Horizons about a year after this video came up, it's very possible she's a direct reference to this wholesome story. Now you can still interpret it however you want, but I felt it was a nice enough connection for anyone who hasn't heard of it. Speaking of nice things, if you hit Gulliver in the head with a net, it'll trigger his waking up lines, much like if you just speak to him. Normally, you're probably just nudging him awake, which is all fine and dandy. But if you wake him up by beating him over the head with your net, his dialogue will be slightly different to accommodate for this fact. When you nudge him awake, he'll simply thank you for doing so. But when you use the net, he'll specifically say jabbed awake rather than nudged, followed by an ow, as well as him complaining about the state of his noggin. Now, I have yet trying to use an axe on him or something, which is something we'll have to consider in regards to this series. It'll be hard for me to test things due to the nature of this game, but I'll try my best to be thorough. If anyone wants to try using an axe to wake him up, feel free. And please tell me what happens in the comments. And while we're still on the sand, did you know that the footprints left by villagers is actually accurate to what their feet looks like? I initially noticed this with Phoebe on the title screen, and how her footprints on the sand were very certainly bird-like. Something else I noticed on the title screen is that you can see tarantulas or scorpions walking around in the overworld. Then, after the scorpion was far enough away, he gave a sigh of relief before moving on with his life. It probably works like this in a normal game too, not just the title screen, but I haven't gotten it to happen yet. Now it's time for the section of the video where I go over neat tips for the game, considering how intensely skill-based it is. Sticking to tarantulas, it's actually really easy to catch them consistently. Just hold down the A button to walk towards them like this. When it's, hissing at you, stop moving. When it stops doing that, start walking towards it again. It's a game of red light, green light. But it works every time. Alternatively, you could just aggro it, jump into a ring of holes you made and capture it that way, but I feel like this method requires more setup. It's probably only viable if you use it on the elusive Tarantula Island. Speaking of which, while I haven't found this island myself, one fact that someone on Twitter discovered is that when one tarantula is aggroed, the other ones can't be. So if you aggro one tarantula and trap it somehow, the rest of them will be stuck in place and free to capture. The next tip involves fishing, but the maximum number of times a fish can nibble on the bait is 4. It will never nibble more than that. So if a fish nibbles 4 times, you can rest assured that the next attempt will be a bite. If you get lucky enough to be in this situation, you can actually time it so you start reeling in almost immediately after the bite. Final tip, but when you have a new achievement in the Nook Miles thing, you can just hit up or down on the right stick in order to get there instantly, instead of sifting through the entire catalog. This is admittedly a very simple tip, probably one that a lot of people know of already, but it saves me a ton of time and it took me a while to discover it. And speaking of saving time, Sophie Gray has informed me of a really useful tip that I also didn't realize. It may have been explained in the game or something, but I probably missed it. Has anyone ever felt like the crafting animation and all that just takes a little too long? Considering how often you're crafting stuff, I hope there was a way to skip it. Well, there kind of is. If you mash buttons during the chaotic building portion of it, you'll go through it way quicker. I found it only works with the A button. Mashing other buttons does not work. And actually, it doesn't even have to be mashing. If you tap A 3 times, then stop, the entire animation will still play out that quickly. And tapping A once doesn't seem to do anything. This is a nice time saver if you have to craft a ton of things. Next up, some pieces of furniture in this game actually have utility. For instance, this trash can. I had gotten a DIY card for something that I already knew how to craft. But since I can't seem to put it in my house's storage, I can actually just throw it in the trash. Be warned that you cannot retrieve anything you've thrown in the trash, but this is still really useful to prevent any clutter. What's even more useful though is the toilet. In this game, whenever you eat, you fill up a meter in the top left corner. And when you fill this meter up any amount, you can either completely remove a tree, or you can completely destroy a rock. While you can simply replace the tree anywhere you wish, destroying a rock, well, destroys it. You can't place it back. Every day, you do get plenty of valuable materials from each rock in your town, so accidentally destroying one could kinda suck. But what if you want to normally hit a rock, but you still have some food in your system? Well, that's where the toilet comes in. Simply sitting on it will gradually drain the food meter until you're empty. So yes, it is confirmed that you can take a massive dookie in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Quarantine has never been better. Final bit for this video, but in the game you'll be given a Nintendo Switch item. Eventually you'll be able to repurchase it through the catalog, and its price is 29,980 bells. What I find interesting is that this is the exact price of a Nintendo Switch in real life, if you're using the Japanese currency yen. The easiest way to get an idea for how yen translates to American dollars is by simply moving the decimal over to the left twice. Or another way of saying that is that every 100 bells, or yen, is 1 USD dollar. This seems to be the general hypothesis of the Animal Crossing community, but the fact that the Nintendo Switch's price is identical to that of the real world price is a pretty telling sign. I just felt it was a fun thing to think about. It's something I often think about when considering prices of things I buy in the game. Like how I slaved away in order to purchase a fridge that's 60,000 bells, which would be about $600. Anyhow, I think that'll do it for today's video. This is a bit shorter than the other videos of this series, but if you guys want more of it, well, I'll try my best to make more. Leave any of your Animal Crossing facts or questions down below. It doesn't have to be for New Horizons either, but that's the only game I can actually get footage for at the moment. Anything will do though. And right before I leave, for those of you playing the game right now, we've got a few days till March ends. Once March ends, some fish and bugs will be unavailable to catch for a while. For those of you who don't time travel, you'll only get those as soon as you can. The graphic was made by Celesmeh on Twitter. Be sure to catch them pretty soon. Thanks for watching, and be nice to your fellow Animal Crossing players, however they decide to play the game. Stay casual, and I'll see you later.